Macmillan Audio presents The Last Outlaws, written by Tom Clavin, read by George Newbern. To James, Catherine, and Vivienne von Cannon. Author's note. The men in the Dalton Gang and its immediate spin-off, the Dalton Gang, were not literally the last outlaws. The occupation of outlaw exists to the present day, though few can still be found atop horses. As this book details, some members of these two gangs did not meet a violent end until into the 20th century. One man, in fact, was gunned down in 1924, during an era when outlaw was being replaced by gangster, and one can point to the rotating members of the various hole-in-the-wall gangs in Wyoming and Utah in the 1890s, whose days of depredations continued into the next century. But the Dalton brothers and their accomplices represented a Wild West that was waning in 1892, when the Coffeyville raid put an exclamation point on the demise of the hard-riding outlaws who had come of age during and after the Civil War. The Daltons operated, or attempted to operate, as if decades had not passed, and Winchester-wielding bank and train robberies still provided a way to make a living instead of what they truly were, last hurrahs. Outlaws did not die with the Daltons, but the romantic glow of an iconic figure of the American West certainly did. Prologue. The event, like the Wild West itself, was a distant memory. But Emmett Dalton was about to turn 60, and the ailments were piling up. If he did not set foot in Coffeyville now, most likely he never would. And some of the people, especially the survivors of that deadly day of almost 40 years earlier, still wanted a display of atonement. Emmett could do that. A part of him even wanted to, though deep down he believed all the years in prison was plenty of punishment. To be honest, which could be difficult for him at times, Emmett enjoyed the attention. His return to Coffeyville generated headlines, as the Kansas City Star would report in its April 29, 1931 edition. Emmett Dalton, leader of the notorious Dalton Gang that 39 years ago was the terror of the Southwest, returned Sunday to revisit the scenes of his career as an outlaw. He was certainly not the leader, Bob was, but close enough. Emmett had a practical and somber reason, too. Otherwise, it would appear unseemly after all this time to just pass through the town in southeast Kansas, where in October 1892 8 men had been shot to death. There could still be grieving widows and children, even mothers here. 2 of those murdered men had been his older brothers, Bob and Grat. Ever since they had lain with Bill Power in a common grave in the city's Elmwood Cemetery. Even more of an insult, the only marker the grave had was a length of lead gas pipe. Today, when Emmett got there, he expected to find the fine marker he had paid good money to create. As he stood on the sidewalk in the center of Coffeyville, 2 men approached him. "How do you do, Emmett?" said one of them. He identified himself as E.W. Morgan, and he had been 11 years old on that blood-soaked day in October 1892. The other was Charles Gump. He was 72 now, and as he extended his hand, he told Emmett that it had been struck by a bullet during the gun battle. But no hard feelings, Gump cheerfully assured him. It occurred to Emmett that just by still being alive and the last of the Dalton Gang, he was a celebrity to these people, and still a source of wonder, given that the last time he had been in Coffeyville, he had been shot 23 times, yet did not die. The dying was done by 8 other men. Sure, it did not hurt that Emmett and his wife Julia had driven east from their home in Hollywood, and he was indeed in the motion picture business, where he was encountering many more bandits than back in his outlaw days. Ironically, gangster movies were all the rage now. As Emmett and Julia were preparing for their trip, people were lining up in Los Angeles to see the young actor Jimmy Cagney.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?